Welcome back to the Law of One educational series. This is episode 17, and we're exploring session 17, a session that gives some of the clearest explanations about harvest, polarity, and what it actually means to walk either the positive or negative spiritual path. Ra has discussed polarity before, but session 17 organizes this topic into a structured, practical explanation. It answers questions many people have, like, what does it take to graduate from third density? What does service look like in real life? And how does the Confederation determine when it's appropriate to help?
Ra begins by explaining the requirements for harvest, which is the transition from third density into fourth density. We've touched on the concept earlier, but session 17 gives the exact thresholds for positive and negative graduation. For the positive path, Ra says a being must be at least 51% oriented toward service to others. This doesn't mean being perfect or self-sacrificing. It simply means that, more often than not, your intention leads toward kindness, compassion, and helping others in a balanced way. For the negative path, the requirement is much more extreme: 95% service to self. Ra explains that negative polarization requires intense dedication to control, manipulation, and the domination of others. This path is difficult, narrow, and demanding, which is why far fewer beings successfully achieve negative harvest.
That contrast is important. The positive path requires a majority orientation, just over half. The negative path requires almost complete dedication. Ra explains that this difference exists because love and cooperation naturally expand energy, while control contracts it. So one path is expansive, and the other is extremely restrictive. Session 17 also explains why many people do not polarize strongly in either direction. Most individuals here lived mixed lives, sometimes loving, sometimes fearful, sometimes focused on others, and sometimes on themselves. Without consistent intention, the polarity doesn't build.
From here, Ra gives one of the clearest definitions of service. Service is not measured by dramatic actions or large achievements. It is defined by intention, the quiet everyday choices that reveal your orientation. Acts such as listening without judgment, offering kindness, forgiving someone, or supporting a friend all contribute to positive polarization. Even simple goodwill toward others counts as service. What's new in this session is Ra's explanation of unconscious service. Ra says you can polarize positively even if you don't consciously know what polarity is. A person living a compassionate, honest, loving life naturally strengthens the positive path.
That's encouraging because it means spiritual growth isn't reserved for people who study metaphysics or who are consciously practicing spiritual disciplines. Kindness, fairness, patience, and empathy, these build the positive path almost automatically. Ra also explains that for the negative path, intention must be fully self-focused. Attempts to manipulate or control must be deliberate and consistent. So the negative path isn't something someone accidentally falls into. It requires strong and conscious effort.
Session 17 also expands on how the Confederation approaches teaching and healing. We've heard before that they must respect free will, but here Ra adds more details about their guidelines. The Confederation will only offer healing or guidance when it is requested. They avoid anything that forces belief or creates dependency. Their goal is not to lead or command, but to support those who seek. Ra emphasizes that healing is not about transferring power from healer to patient. Healing occurs when the individual recognizes their own inner alignment. Any external help must point the person back to themselves.
That fits with the Law of One's emphasis on self-responsibility. The Confederation doesn't want to become an authority figure. They don't want people to rely on higher beings for answers. Their role is to encourage self-discovery, not obedience. This explains why their communication is subtle. Inspiration, intuition, or gentle guidance honors the sovereignty of the seeker.
Another important part of Session 17 is Ra's explanation of the importance of seeking. Seeking is what strengthens polarity. Whether someone studies spiritual texts, practices compassion, reflects on their life, or simply tries to improve themselves, the act of seeking directs their energy. Ra says intention matters more than knowledge. A person who seeks truth with an honest heart polarizes faster than someone who has vast metaphysical information but no sincere desire to grow. This session makes it clear that the path is shaped by consistent choice, not by perfection, not by rituals, and not by dramatic displays of spirituality.
So the big picture in Session 17 is this. We polarize through intention, small decisions, and the quiet direction of our heart. We evolve by showing up in everyday life with clarity about who we want to be. The positive path requires openness and compassion. The negative path requires extreme focus and separation. And most people who don't choose will simply repeat third density until they do. Session 17 gives us practical insight into what spiritual growth actually looks like in daily life.
Yes, this is one of the most straightforward sessions and one that applies directly to how we live and make choices.
Thank you for joining us, and on episode 18, we'll continue exploring how Ra builds on these themes and prepares us for the deeper aspects of spiritual evolution. Peace, love, and light until then.